Alrighty, and we're on.
Awesome.
Literally just like that. Kaine from Rain.
That's Kaine from Rain. Yeah, that's you can shout that one out to Janice. Janice, she gave me the shout out last time you guys were talking, and she told me that I should have just called my gym Kaine instead of Kaine from Rain. I don't know. Now it's like a running joke.
Yeah. So I guess let's probably start with a little bit of Rain, and then I want to sort of pull it back and talk a bit more about life and things like that. But how long have you had Rain Grappling Club going for now, and I guess how's it going?
Oh man, it was like super spontaneous. It was only probably October last year, I believe. I kind of was like, I'm just going to start this. I don't know. I went through a bit of a patch. Like most people who do know me know that I was training at GE for quite a while. Over the last kind of 3 or so years since the kind of birth of GE there and whatnot. I love that place. Don't get me wrong. That place was one of the best changes I made in my jiu-jitsu career, going from 11 years in the gi, from a very traditional gi gym, to going there and taking on the no-gi side of things. But I kind of went through a little phase where I lost kind of a sense of purpose of why am I going to training? Like, why am I showing up at training every day if I didn't have like an end goal, or like what am I working towards? My whole kind of career in the gi, I competed all the time. So like I always had a goal. Like this training, showing up every day, even though I was working Monday to Friday, Saturdays, as a full-time human being, working as well, training as well. I had a goal that was a competition to meet. Like there's a date coming up, but I didn't have that for quite a while. And I, started going through like a little, I guess you'd call it like a little depression stage where I just kind of lost that purpose. I was like what am I doing this for?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu crisis.
Yeah, it was weird.
Crisis, but in your jiu-jitsu career.
Yeah, I guess you could say it like that. It was kind of weird, and like it's like been, I'd say, nearly 15 years of jiu-jitsu, and I've never felt that. And so I was like, I need to do something. I've always, like, I guess for most long-serving practitioners, once they get to the black belt and whatnot, the long-term end goal would be to run an academy. That's a way to make this a career path. If you're not a competitor, that's the way to make yourself some money, look after your family if you choose that route as you get older. And it's always been a thought in my head that at some point I was going to run a gym. And I guess I just procrastinated for so long, and I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I just got to do it. And so I literally, after I decided that, I went home that night and just registered a business name. And then that's how it started. And then I was like, okay, shit, we're going. And I just started looking for a place, and I think it kind of took a bit of people by surprise. And some people might have thought, oh, something's happened at GE or something like that, which, as far as I'm concerned, that's not the case at all. It was literally just a spontaneous, like, I need a change. I need to do something, because what's happening right now, obviously it's not mentally working for me. For whatever reason, I just don't. Yeah, just literally just started feeling that way. But yeah, that's how Rain came about. It wasn't like I said, it was always a plan to eventually own a gym. Yep. But me just randomly all of a sudden saying that I'm doing a gym right now, that was just literally out of the blue. It was like, I need to change something. I'm not happy. Not with the space that I'm in, but like just within myself. I just, like I said, lost that purpose.
I think a lot of athletes go through this, right? Yeah. And the best way I can sort of liken it is like when I was in the automotive industry, right? And like when you're in a sales-oriented role, and you have like targets every month, right? Yep. So you're on this high every month of having to chase. And competing is very much the same. When you've always got that goal ahead, your planning is based around, okay, so what's the next goal? Yeah. Right? And it's kind of funny because, especially like when you look at like MMA athletes, and like they just literally get out of the cage, and the first question that people ask them, especially in like a post-fight, it's like, well, what's next?
What's next, yeah.
Right?
Do you want to call someone out? Is there anyone on the horizon or whatever, yeah.
Right? And so it's like, you literally just, had a fight. And then the first thing that somebody asks you is like, it's like, congratulations. All right, but what's next? Yeah. Right?
When are you going to get in there again?
Yeah. Right? So straight away, like we always immediately jump to the next goal, as opposed to sort of just, appreciating the thing that we just did in its entirety, right? Like, because I really, you can't really appreciate it until you have those moments to yourself to sort of, sit down and then go, okay, process what happened in whether it was a comp or whether it was in that month or whatever, goal that you've tried to achieve.
Yeah.
But then straight away you feel like this urgency to jump straight onto the next goal.
Yeah.
Right? And like when you actually think about it, like the only person that was putting that urgency on was you.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right? You put this urgency on yourself to achieve this next goal.
That's correct. Yeah.
And it's like, all right, gotta get back on the horse and away we go again, and use that to motivate you for the next step.
Yeah, regardless of if you're beat up or whatever like that, you know what I mean? Like obviously if you sustain some sort of injury that's put you to the side, well then you got to deal with that. But like you said, it's like you put that urgency on yourself, and like I said, regardless of how bashed up you feel, like how sore you are, it's like it's Monday, we're going back to the gym, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's like, okay, what's the next comp? Okay, GI's on. Okay, well, I'm going to sign up for that. And then it's like, okay, what's next? ADCC. Oh, okay, we'll do that. And it's just like literally jumping from goal to goal, right? And I think, I guess that's part of like probably the reason why, so many people get their blue belt and then stop, right? Is because like, like they get really into something first of all.
Yeah.
But then they get so focused on goal.
Yeah. But like also the blue belt, in a sense, I guess, comes relatively quick compared to the other belts, right? So like, and usually, I guess like it's what you'd call like that honeymoon phase, you know what I mean? Like you've been doing jiu-jitsu, you just started jiu-jitsu, you get addicted, and that could happen within a couple of months, and then by that point, it's like, this is all I want to do. Yeah. And before you know it, it's been 12 months. And you're like, and then you're like, if you've been doing really well around that 12-month mark, your coach is talking to you about, gradings and the blue belt and whatever. Or during that 12 to 18 month period there, you might see other people around you grade to their next belt. And you're like, bloody oath, that's what I want to go to the next belt. But yeah, like that blue belt comes around pretty quickly once you kind of get bitten and like you're addicted to jiu-jitsu. You're there a couple of nights a week, 2, 3, 4, 5 even. And once they kind of get to the blue belt, and that's the next step is the purple belt, and like that could come very quickly for exceptional people, but also like for me, I'm pretty sure purple belt for me was like a 4-year stint. You know what I mean, at blue belt. So like from blue to purple was about 4 years, from memory. Yeah, about 4. And in that time, it's like people plateau out a bit. You don't see people get the blue belt and immediately leave. They'll be there a blue belt for a year or two, and it's usually after that second year that if they're not one of these exceptional people who are excelling in the comp scene and excelling in the gym and all this sort of stuff like that, that they start to plateau in their own skill sets and stuff like this in the gym, you see them start to fade a bit. Yeah. Because like I guess as a general criteria, we look at the purple belt as like the professional belt, because like by the time that purple belt rolls around, you've been doing jiu-jitsu for at bare minimum 5 years or so, maybe 6, and it's like, okay, you're in. Like if you're doing this sport and you've been in it for 5 to 6 years, it's like I don't think you're going to change. Or for me personally, I'm like, why would you commit 5 to 6 years in the gym all the time, or just at anything, and then just walk away? Yeah, it's kind of like in your job as well. It's like if this is what the job you like, and you've been there for 5 years, you're not going to all of a sudden just decide to change jobs unless you don't like it. Yeah. So I guess that plateau situation starts to happen when the blue belts are starting to head towards, or get to the midway mark towards the purple. And it's like it all seems a bit too hard, or they start realizing that, I'm not progressing. And so either they build a bridge and get over it and keep pushing through it, and then that you will slowly start to see that you are actually getting better, whether it be just a 1% thing or whatever. Yeah. But if they don't, it's, I'm out.
Yeah, well, it's hard because like if you base your goals around a belt or a comp or something like that, like those things are transient. Yeah. They come and they go, and then you have to focus on the next thing. Whereas like if you actually like take a step back and you think about, okay, what is my purpose in doing this, right? If the goal is skill acquisition, well, skill acquisition never ends.
Exactly.
Right? And so I think that's I always, I love talking about this idea about chasing the plateaus, because like before every breakthrough, there's a plateau.
Of course, yeah, definitely.
Right? And
yeah,
so
definitely.
reframing, like, people go, like, there's, sometimes you talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just like I'm like in this plateau at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, you should be excited because like in a very short period of time, you're going to have this breakthrough and you're going to be like, wow, something just clicked for me and it just made sense.
But that's like I get, I won't say the word invention, but like that's how creativity works, I guess, in a sense. It's like, let's keep it in the realms of jiu-jitsu. It's like you learn a move, okay, you drill it, or you start to get quite good at it. So you start spamming it a lot, and you start hitting it a lot on people, and it becomes like a loaded gun for you. So you know that when you hit this position, you're going to finish, or you're going to get to the back, or something like that. You do it so much that eventually people catch on, and then the success goes really high. And then it starts to drop.
People get aware of what you're doing.
Exactly right. And
it's me in triangles at the moment. It's like a bullshit move. But
Yeah.
like it's just one of those ones that I just love hitting.
Oh man, hit the triangle. That's solid.
Shout out to Janice. She's been like my main what's the right word? Victim. Of me trying to spam the triangle on her, but she's cottoned on, so it's like getting very difficult to cry.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and it's like if you don't start to think to yourself, okay, what is my next option from here when I do hit that wall, that resistance, when I'm trying to do this technique that was once a loaded gun, if you don't start to think and start looking outside the box or start trying to find external sources to then move on, you will plateau. And that's when you will start to get disheartened because it's like, oh, everyone knows my game. I'm just getting smashed now. I'm shit. People are getting better quicker than me. And it's like, nah, man, like start thinking out the problem.
Yeah, you've held on to that move for too long.
Yeah,
you haven't let go and like tried to explore, right?
But like you said, like skill acquisition, right? So like I personally, for me, like I look at jiu-jitsu, whether it be gi, no gi, whatever, the idea, I've always kind of spoken about myself as wanting to be like the handyman. So like, what do you mean by the handyman? I don't want to be like, I don't care if I'm not like godly at one thing, but like I want to be good everywhere. I want to be a threat everywhere, whether it's bottom, whether I'm on top, whether I'm standing, whether I'm passing, taking the back, or whatever position, whatever offensive position I get into, I should be a threat. And if I can be a threat from every offensive position, technically speaking, in my mind, that means my opponent should always be on the back foot.
See, that's a good mentality to have, and it actually, like, I think that also speaks to your personality. Like, I think everybody's style is a little bit dictated by personality, right? And you have a natural sort of gravitation towards a specific style. Like some people are like really enjoy playing legs. Some people really enjoy passing. Unfortunately for me, it's bullshit moves.
Hey, I like a bit of bullshit moves. Shout out Liam Wilson, who cops a bit of my bullshit. So.
All right, but we'll come back to jiu-jitsu. I also want to pair it back for people and also give like people a bit of an understanding of what life has been like for you. You've obviously experienced a bit of life. So where did you grow up? And
So I was born in Kogarah.
Okay.
I was born in Kogarah. I lived in San Susi till, as far as my knowledge is concerned, of about 2 years old. My family then moved to South Durras. So South Durras is about 35 minutes south of Ulladulla.
Oh, far south.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah. So
South Coast.
Ulladulla and Batemans Bay are the two major towns.
Yep.
Durras lies like smack bang on the coast in between those two, roughly.
Okay.
If you follow the coastline down, you go like Bawley Point, Depot Beach, North and South Durras, yada yada. So that's where I grew up. And for as far back as like my memory is, it's always been South Durras. So like if you were to ask me where did I grow up, it'd be South Durras. Obviously I was born in Kogarah, but high school, primary school, kindergarten, all that sort of stuff was in this small little coastal town of South Durras. When I was living there growing up, there was about 300 to 350 people living there.
Wow, small town.
Very small town, yeah, very small.
In towns like that, like everybody sort of knows each other, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we had one school bus that was for the entirety of the town, and like that didn't even fill up. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Like we had, like everyone on the bus could sit. Like you could have one person sitting on a double seat by themselves, and that's all the kids. You know what I mean? Going to high school, going to primary school, that sort of thing. Yeah, one bus.
One bus.
Yeah.
So then, you would have probably formed some pretty good friendships.
Yeah, like three, like even like, so I got three mates, Ben, Jared, and Matt. They're the boys that I've went through daycare, primary school, bloody high school, turning 18, turning 21, weddings, all that sort of stuff, like we've all been there together. We've done all that stuff together. Even though as, life goes on, you drift apart from these guys at some point. But like if we ever chat or we ever in the same room together, it was school yesterday. Like it doesn't change. So those three dudes are the ones I guess you'd call like that life bond with someone who's not a family member.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Like a lot of the times, people have often changed schools or changed locations, and then your friend group changes because you might go to a different school.
Yep.
But to be able to know these guys for pretty much the majority of your life, it's like something that's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah. Like I said, they were part of my bridal party at my wedding. Like I haven't been on the coast. I left the coast in 2006. So when I was 17, I left home.
Wow.
And obviously, like, if I didn't have a license and stuff like that, it was like the challenge of getting back down the coast was catch a bus or hope someone was heading down that way, But like since 2006, like I don't see them every day. I don't talk to them every day, and it's been like that for quite a long time. But again, like I said, whenever we are together, it's like we were back in school yesterday. So like,
like when you say that, like that's exactly like me and my high school mates.
Yeah.
And like part of the reason in terms of the backstory about why I started this podcast is because one of my high school mates committed suicide.
Right.
And it was literally like we're having dinner Easter Monday, and then 5 days later I get a phone call that he's jumped in front of a train, and it was like, fuck, what do we miss?
Yeah.
And like, because you literally dinner was just like being with my high school mates. It was just like a fun conversation. We talk about life, talk about all these different things, and then shit like that happens. It's kind of puts you out.
Yeah,
So,
it's far too much of that. Too much of that going on.
I don't know why people just not to say don't know why. I think there's everybody's got reasons behind their actions. It was just one of those things that I think when you go through something like that, it takes you by surprise.
Oh yeah, as a person on the outside, for sure.
Yeah.
But I always kind of start to wonder. It's like when they go through that and they 100% commit to that. It's like, is that the person that I know that's doing that? Is it the same person? It's like, I personally like to think that it's not, because the person that I know that I thought I really knew wouldn't do that sort of thing. But those, like they say, like the people, for the most part, a majority of people who do survive taking their own life, majority of them say they regret doing it. So like I've had quite a number of people do it. It's like kind of hard to talk about.
Yeah. From South
Paris, childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, mates. Like the first guy who I was friends with was when I was 16.
Yep.
And then just like as I've progressed on and made new groups of friends and bonds with people through jiu-jitsu and whatnot, people from those circles have done the same thing, and I don't know. I've been in situations where I've been really down and rock bottom, that kind of dark side of things, but I've never personally thought that I could fully commit to that. So it makes me wonder like how bad it must be for them to 100% commit to that.
Yeah.
Or does what they're feeling make them a completely person to the person that I knew?
Yeah, like a different person. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like I sort of feel like, there's different sort of stages of it, right? Like I think there's sometimes people do things and it is kind of like a cry for help. I know for my particular friend, it wasn't the first time that he tried, but the method that he chose is like it's a pretty final method.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas the first time, he ended up in hospital, and we all rallied around him, and it was a good, probably maybe more than 10 years, 10 years or more since that first attempt.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so it was just sort of like we thought he was in a good place and everything was good. And then suddenly it was just like, okay.
It's got a hold of him again.
Yeah.
Completely, yeah.
So, like, I think, lots of people face, some dark times. And it's just about, like, I think for the people that live on, it's like, okay, well, what do you do as a result of that, right? Like, I think that's why it's good to, for me, I think it's important that we talk about these things, because then people that might be feeling those things know that, okay, like, people, want to sort of help if they know how to help. I think the hardest thing is not even knowing that something
you can
wrong.
Be helped. Yeah.
Right. And that's why, like, that was the biggest thing for me was when that happened. Like, my friend, there was 3 of us, like high school mates, and then our families were there. But me and Ivan, my other high school mate, we were talking about it. And we were like, did we miss something in that whole conversation? Like, it just literally was normal. And then, and then it happened, and then it was just like we thought, fuck, maybe was that the cry for help that he came out and saw us, and we missed something in that conversation.
Yeah.
And then I think where we sort of came to it was like, well, maybe that was just his way of saying goodbye to us.
It was like that. I think it was it a TV ad, or did I see it on just like an ad on like YouTube ads or something like that, where it was like 2 older gentlemen going to a football game all the time, and one guy's really happy and one guy seems like annoyed all the time, but like they're there together enjoying the football game, and it goes on, and it's like them going to the game a couple of times, and then there's the last final scene is it's the guy who always seemed annoyed coming to the game by himself, sitting with like the jersey of his friend over the shirt, who was the guy who was throughout the whole ad the very charismatic and very happy looking guy. So, and like once you realize that the ad was for like, suicide awareness and mental health and stuff like that, you're like, oh, that's so crazy, because the guy on the guy that is the surviving guy there, he was the one that portrayed as if he was the unhappy one, but it was truly the guy who you wouldn't have expected it.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's like what did we miss? Like he came out to dinner, like you guys were aware that he had attempted something, but it's been 10 years. So it's like, oh, he's got past this, and he looks happy. We're out having, and then that's the end. You hear so many stories of these some guys and girls, I guess. I don't really know many females that have done it. Most of the people that I know that have done it have been male. But like, you hear like stories of him, and it's always like, oh, he was the happiest guy, or on like the night or the day or wherever it may have been when they did finally commit to that, it was like they were, very loving, came and gave me hugs and hung out, everything was cool, and then the next morning you get a phone call.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Like that is just, it blows you away when you think about it, because it's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
There's no other word for it.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
There's not. And it's like you said, it's like, did we miss something?
Yeah.
And you're just left trying to figure it out. And it's like, is my other mates feeling like this? They all seem happy. They all seem just like he was. Like, who else near me is going through this right now? And you don't know.
Yeah. And it's not an easy thing to, you can't just really, like,
Go
it's
up
probably
to
not
someone.
socially acceptable to go,
you can't.
hey, Kaine, how you feeling today? Yeah, you
Yeah.
feeling all right?
Well,
Like,
I guess
we
like,
try and do Are You Okay Day, but it's
Yeah.
it's sort of like so, I don't know, contrived, like it's not really an honest sort of, I know like the intention behind it is good,
yeah,
but I feel like you can't have
just a day.
Yeah, like it's something that, like, when you get into these conversations, there's almost like you need a skill to be able to broach some of these hard topics, right?
Yeah.
And then, like in normal small talk, you're not going to go and ask somebody, is everything okay?
Yeah, I think
know?
like you kind of have to know that person a bit,
Yeah.
have some sort of relationship with that person, and usually like you wouldn't ask them on that like deeper level, like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Unless they were like showing a sign that something might be up.
Yeah.
Like you've noticed for the last few days in the training room, they've been dragging their feet a lot or
Yeah.
something like that, then you'll come up and say that. But again, like if you don't see those things, it's not really I don't know. I just think it just flies over your head to go and actually genuinely inquire about their well-being.
Yeah. I guess, you know, one of the ways that I try and open people up is always leading with my own vulnerabilities and insecurities, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, when people are able to share, then that allows other people to feel like, okay, it's okay to share.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, the more honest styles of conversations people can have, hopefully, like, it'll allow, you know, people to be able to talk about their feelings a little bit more, especially among guys, right? Like, you know, typically when guys do things, it's like if we go out, we're going out to do something, right? Versus, I think, you know, females, like I know, you know, when my wife goes out, it'll be like they go to dinner and they just like, you know, we'll talk and do a bunch of that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
when guys go out, we might go karting or paintball or like, you know, doing active things.
I guess it's the two different way we as species consider socializing.
Yeah.
You know? Women, you know, love to chat, love to just be around their friends and chat and whatever. And, you know, for them, like we see going, let's go go-karting, let's go paintball, something crazy like that. Yeah. You know, let's go for, even it's like, let's go for a swim or something like, you know what I mean? Going out and having that dinner or having that breakfast catch up, that coffee date, you know, that's their version of it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, it's a way of socializing. It's just your way of forgetting about the everyday nonsense. Or, you know, if you feel like you just want to offload, it's a good way to do that as well. But like even like when we do, like as a guy, like even when we do go and do these activities with your mates, which I'm guilty of not doing enough of, you don't, well, for me, like I don't feel like you really end up chatting too much about that.
No,
like,
you don't.
Like, it doesn't get like too deep into this concept. Whereas with women in there and like they're like 3 or 4 close friends, they will have personal conversations, and just hope that. And I guess it's like if it's your wife, you won't know if she's talking about you or not. But like whatever, at the end of the day, if it's good and it keeps the like the family unit or whatever it may be healthy, then sure, go for it.
Yeah.
I feel like some people don't want to talk because they feel like they're going to be judged, I guess. Even when it is someone who is close to you, you might still have that thought in your head, oh, like they think I'm a fucking idiot or something like that, you know, or like, oh, I should have pulled my head in a long time ago, or just something like that, you know.
Yeah, everybody gets self-conscious.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I don't think that changes. I don't think that gets any better as you get older. You try to make it less of an issue for yourself. But, you know, there's going to be some point in time where that bit of doubt kicks in. And it's like up to you to choose whether do you listen and let that doubt build, or do you just say, oh, no, come on, man, you're being stupid. Let's just keep pushing on.
You know, like, our minds are actually like can be our own worst enemies. Like, because we gravitate to like, we overthink things. Yeah. You know, and it could be as simple as like
very, very guilty.
Yeah, like guilty. You know, I'm guilty of it as well. Plenty of times, like, you know, you might send a message to somebody and then you don't get an immediate reply, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess they're not interested or whatever the case may be. But then it's like, no, maybe that person's just fucking busy.
Yeah,
like,
man, I do that with my wife. Like I do that all the time, and it's like, why am I doubting? Why am I thinking these stupid thoughts? Like, I've been with this woman for 12 years. Yeah. You know, we got 3 children. Yeah. It's like, but you know, sometimes it just cracks in, you know, you're just like, fucking hell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think that's a battle every day, you know, like where you just got to like, take a step back and go, don't overthink things, just keep it simple. Yeah. And then I think the other thing that I was even just saying this to Quinn, one of the other girls that trains, that like I messaged another friend of ours who I hadn't spoken to in a while. And I have this like thing in my head where it's like when I think of somebody, then that's a sign to either message or call. Yep. Right. If I'm in the car, then I'll like call people randomly if they come into my mind. And it's amazing the amount of times that I've done that the person has responded, you know what, I was just thinking about you too.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
wild, yeah.
And like, I feel like it's one of those things. I used to call this, well, the concept, when I heard of this concept, it was called mind chatter.
Mind chatter, okay.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, in your brain, your mind, it's chatting to you and telling you, hey, you know, you need to do this, right?
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, if you don't listen to it, then the mind chatter goes away. And it doesn't, like, when I say it goes away, it's like, then you just stop thinking about people in that sense.
Yeah.
But then when you listen to it, it's like when it tells you, oh, you know, you thought of this person. Okay, well, I'll give them a ring.
Yeah.
It just becomes a little habit. And then the more often that you do it, the more often that it happens.
Yeah, it's probably a negative of mine. Like I do get that, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that, and then it'll be a week and I haven't done it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like I should be more like you and just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's you know, like if you're in the car, just hit Siri, hey Siri,
yeah,
call XYZ.
Yeah,
you know, and
for sure.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I picked up that concept maybe, I'll say probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've like, you know, every time like I've been driving around and somebody pops into my mind, I'll give them a buzz, and just to catch, you know, check in and like it takes people by surprise too, because a lot of times when you call people always think, oh, what do you want?
Yeah. Especially if you haven't spoken to them in a while.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you calling me because you need something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But and it's kind of hard too, where like if it's like, if you do have a friend or someone that you've known for quite a while that does have a skill that you require, and it's like I guess to me in my head, it's like I'd rather give that person my money than someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? But then in their head, it's like, oh, why are you like? They might not say it to you, but I'm sure there's a thought where this motherfucker's just calling me because he wants something. He wants me to come and, you know, look at his car, or you know, wants me to freaking, you know, do something in his house. You know, that's the only reason why he's calling me.
Yeah. It's a weird one, right? Because like
it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, because with your friends, like you want to feel like you're being looked after.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, if you were to give your money to anyone, of course, I'd rather give it to my friends than give it to, you know, somebody that I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's always a very tricky one, and especially like, you know, in both ways, right? Because you might have one intention, but then the other person sees it differently.
Yeah.
You know,
or like, oh, he's hoping he's going to get like a cheaper rate, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But like,
you'd get that as well in work, right?
Yeah. But like, I've done my job as an arborist. I've done that for just as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu. And at the start, but like as I kind of progressed into my role as a contractor, I was working commercially for quite a while. So I was always on government stuff.
Yeah.
So I was never around the backyards and stuff like that.
Okay.
But the last few years, I kind of that killed me doing that. Like I was driving from where I lived here to the Central Coast and then back home, and the next day I'd be out in like Katoomba.
Wow.
You know, and then all the way down the Southern Highlands, you know, like all over the shop.
Yep.
And like the money was great. Like I was making really good money, and but man, that was just destroying me. Like it got to the point where like I turned into an asshole.
Yeah.
Because I was just like chasing money and doing this and doing that, and I had a very young family, and I got to the point where I just started hating myself, started hating that like that I needed this much money, I needed to be in this position financially and this sort of thing, you know. And I kind of woke up a little bit and was like, you know what, like at the end of the day, like making as much, like there's no point me trying to make as much money as I can in this line of work if it's deteriorating me as a human being.
Yeah, if it's reducing your quality of life elsewhere.
Everything, like just I don't know, it just made me irritable. Unfortunately, I still kind of hold some of those traits, but I try to work on them as much as I can. But that stems from a childhood of a lot of anger issues as a kid growing up and stuff like that.
So when you say the anger issues, like I guess, why do you think that you had the anger issues growing up?
I grew up in a pretty broken household. A lot of domestic violence as a young kid on myself and my mother.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah. I have a older sister and a younger brother from my biological father, and then I have a younger brother and a younger sister from my stepfather, who is an amazing man. But like my biological father kind of left my life around, I think it would have been about 7 years old. Yeah, about 7 years old. And really, I guess he never really did much to be a part of my life from that point on, even till today.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like I still went to like family things and stuff on his side of the family, like there was still interactions, but it was never like, as far as I see it, there was never like I wasn't going to my dad's house every second weekend and stuff like most co-parenting situations are, you know, like there was none of that. It was just whenever my dad felt like it.
Yeah.
But I was so I guess a lot of my anger issues come from that, and a lot of just getting picked on as a kid. Yeah, getting picked on as a kid.
What would they pick on you about?
A lot of things, man, like having glasses.
Yeah.
You know, I've had eye issues since the age of 5.
Is it just like long-sighted, short-sightedness, or
what is it? If I close my right eye, everything's completely blurry. But I can see, like I can pass. It's funny because like your normal driving lesson, like license testing, like the eyesight test, where you just both your eyes look at the board, pass that easy. No need for glasses to drive a normal car. Do a commercial license. I have a HR license. You have to do individual eye. And I can't pass it, so I have to have glasses, which now affects my normal car license because it's all one license.
Yeah, wow.
So it's kind of whack.
So okay, and the reason why I asked this is because so for me, I think I was diagnosed incorrectly as a kid. So they gave me glasses.
Yep.
But what should have happened for me is they should have patched my right eye so that I could see out of
that's what I was supposed to do as a kid. Like when I was like 5-6 years old, they gave us like this projector that like projected like a green light on the wall, and there was an eye patch, and you'd have to do like concentration exercises to try and strengthen the eye. And I hated it. I fucking hated doing it, and like it was always a battle with my mom to do that. And you know, as a mother, all she wants to do is to have the best thing that she can for her kids, and I was just a little prick about it. And now my eyes have gotten to the point now where my brain no longer receives information from my left eye.
Yep.
So like even when I go to the optometrist to do my yearly checks for my licenses and stuff like that, my eyes don't improve. They don't degenerate, but they do not improve. And wearing glasses doesn't really, like it does assist, but like very, very marginally. So it's like, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. I don't really pay attention to it.
I think it's something to do with like the connection in your brain to your eyes. And that's why they recommend patching, is because that forces your brain to build those connections with the lazy eye, so to speak.
Yes.
So I was a very similar thing to you. I'm just fortunate that my right eye's, you know, like probably nearly perfect. And my left eye, like when I close my right eye, it's kind of like, it's not blurry, but it's almost like, you can almost like imagine like a really fast strobe light. It just feels like it's like things just aren't as crisp. Yeah. You know?
No, mine's completely blurry, like as if something's just been like fucking spat in my eye or something like that. It's just like, can't see. Everything's just a colour of haze. Like, you know, like I can make out all the objects in the room, right? But I can't read the signs on the wall. Like, I can't even make out our faces in the mirror over there. Like, none of that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then, when like the kids would pick on you, like, was it physical? Was it verbal?
Yeah,
like,
both. Yeah. It's funny, like it was all that sort of thing, but it was, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I wouldn't say that I hung out with like the popular kids, but like I hung out with, you know, the surfers, the skaters, the kind of the cool crew, but yet I was the one getting picked on by a lot of people as well. Like a lot of the harassment come from the older people. Yeah, the older people kids, older kids. Not so much people in my in my year, things in my year was just like general stuff, you know, like you have a disagreement with other kid and then they want to punch on and stuff like that. That was pretty standard. But a lot of the real kind of bad harassment come from older kids. And that started like even in my hometown, you know, like
you can't get away from it though. It's such a small community, right?
Yeah. But also at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, like down at the local skate park, you know, the older boys will try and make two of the younger boys fight each other, you know, and it was always me.
Yeah.
It was always, or go do that with him, or, you know, go, you know, they just push me into another kid to try and make us fight and stuff like that, you know, like it was always me. And I was like, I kind of took that to heart a lot. And some kids that I thought were my friends would, you know, they get involved as well. And it kind of fucked me up a bit too, I guess.
Yeah. So then, did your parents put you into martial arts or?
No, see, like I played soccer and stuff like this. In high school, I just played whatever sport that was they needed people for. I played union, I played league, you know, played on like the mixed netball team and stuff like that, like just to do something, you know. But it wasn't till I was about like surfing has always been like a culture. Like it's always been a culture in my town. Everyone surfed. It was always the cool thing to do, you know. So that was always a kind of like, oh, I want to surf, I want to do this sort of thing. But I never really got into it until I was about 12, 13. And that was like the first kind of like physical activity or like, you know, sport that I actually was really good at. I wouldn't say surfing, bodyboarding. I was a bodyboarder. Where I grow up, there's a lot of really gnarly reef spots. So like, you know, some spots are you can ride it on a surfboard, but like they suck. They're really dredgy and it's like really hard to get on a surfboard. But a bodyboard, you get in and like some of these spots are really gnarly. And like I live right near one of like the best spots too. Yeah. So there was one older guy that lived in town who kind of, I guess, took me under his wing when I was like 13. And from that point on, I became addicted to bodyboarding. You know, doing all the club comps and stuff all around the Sutherland Shire, which stretches from where I live right down to like the border of Narooma, which is quite a stretch of coast. So I made a lot of friends through that who went to different high schools along the coast. So I had groups of friends at my school, at a school in Maruya, I had a crew of mates, and then down in Narooma, I had a crew of mates.
All guys that were bodyboard? Yeah,
all bodyboard, just through bodyboarding. So it was that was the kind of first real sport where like I made mates within it, kind of like the scene in a jiu-jitsu gym. You know, you got your mates from jiu-jitsu, and that was the first kind of thing. I think I tried judo. We had judo like where I grew up. There wasn't much as far as like gyms and stuff like that. There was like one fitness gym and it was like the old, you know, like aerobics stuff and whatever. You go and do like aerobics classes and stuff like that, and then some free weights. But again, like I was never around it. I was never shown it or introduced to it. So like it never became a thing in my head. A friend of mine, one of the boys I went to school with, his dad did judo, but he lived in a different suburb to me. And again, it's like suburbs isn't just like here in Sydney. Yeah. Like you don't just catch a train or you walk 4 blocks and you're in a new suburb. No, it's like a 15-20 minute car ride to go to a different suburb.
At 100 k's an hour.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, exactly right. You wouldn't call them suburbs. They're just like literally their own like little villages. We refer to them as villages. So like he did judo. There was a Morton's martial arts school in Bateman's Bay. They're quite in like the Canberra area and stuff. I'm pretty sure they're pretty big name. Well, they were a big name, Morton Martial Arts. I believe they did like judo and karate and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they were a big karate school. But I went there I think like once or twice with them, and I just was like, nah. I'd rather surf. Yeah. And that's all I did. I'd just rather surf and skate. So that was kind of the avenue I was in.
Out of curiosity, like, what were you like at school? What did your teachers say about you, and like what were your report cards like?
So again, right? So like I said, I hung out with a lot of the skater guys and stuff, people who you would consider the cool people in school, but yet I got picked on.
Yeah.
So I kind of guess I had the desire to want people to like me. So I was bit of a class clown.
Yep.
But I was the class clown in the smart classes. So like things that I liked, things that I did well at, I excelled at.
So what subjects were you good at?
So like obviously before the senior years we get to like do more advanced stuff. I was really good at like your English, science, these sorts of things. History I was really good at. Geography I was very good at. And then like later on when I moved into the senior years, I took on more science classes like biology and whatnot, advanced geography and into the more like ancient history and stuff like that.
Yep.
And these are stuff that I really, really liked. I just found interest in them.
Any particular ancient civilization you really enjoyed studying or learning about?
Man, there's so many that are so like they're all so fascinating in my eyes. Like there's so many, but like obviously like everyone's gonna say, oh, like the Egyptians. More so like the more I kind of even now today, like I listen to some podcasts or watch documentaries and stuff like that. If it's something that if it sparks my interest, then I'll look into it and I'll actually go through like little phases where I'll watch like YouTube videos on it and stuff like that. I'll go down a little rabbit hole. Yeah, go down a little rabbit hole, So like that and that's changed so much. Like, it was in school I really liked the Egyptians. Just the Egyptians were like the marvel of the world, and they kind of still are the marvel of the world. What they did and these from the moment of the creation of the pyramids and whatnot, they were a tourist attraction around the world. It's always been a tourist destination because of just how spectacular what they achieved. But as I got older on, as I got later on, as I got older, that turned into like, I really liked the movie Gladiator.
Yeah. Like
that's one of my favorite movies of all time, Gladiator. So then it's like, okay, then you go into like, ancient Rome. What did they do? Like watch stuff about them, learn stuff about them. And then like all like the topics of like, how old is the human race? So then start looking to things like looking at things like Sumeria and stuff like that, like the who was the first real civilization, and then go down that rabbit hole. Even like like the Chinese or the Mongols, that whole area, like the conflict for Asia and stuff like that. The invention of gunpowder, and go down that rabbit hole. Like what did Genghis Khan do? Like he freaking, like I can't remember the exact number, but like he wiped out like
10% of the world.
Yeah, something retarded. You know what I mean? Like to the point where like when people came to China, they were getting stuck in the roads from all the rotting corpses and carrion that was just they couldn't get in there. It's like that's wild.
Yeah.
And then it goes even into like, I can even go into like interested into start learning about like the Crusades or like the movie Kingdom of Heaven with what was his name, the leper king, the guy with leprosy. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but like that's the battle between like Christianity and Islam and stuff like that. Like go down those routes and the battles for Jerusalem and like I just find it like there's nothing. I don't know like recitable information in the back of my head, but I've watched so much stuff and I just find it all so fascinating, interesting. Like I could just do that all day if I had the chance.
Well, they're great insights into human nature, really. Like I know the one difference is that we live probably in a safer society than any of those.
100%.
Ancient civilizations.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees that like right now is the best time to be alive.
Yeah, but I'm sure like the people at those points in time would probably thought the same
thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it was more so the people who were in the good spots that would have thought that.
Yeah.
If you weren't a lord, or if you weren't in a place of
if you're a slave, you probably weren't.
Yeah, man. If you were working class, like I consider myself working class, and I think I have a good life. But if I was a working class guy back then, man, life would be fucking hell.
Yeah.
Like your whole family crammed in like a mud hut, you know, or like, you know, you walk outside and there's just sewage and shit. All over the ground, like trotting through. It's not mud you're standing in. It's like the horses, the cows, human beings, you know, decay, death, all that sort of stuff, you know, during like the Black Plague. And it's just like just rotting people everywhere. And there's this illness, people dying from too much diarrhea and like
disease.
Like
No clean water.
Yeah, man, like that.
No running water.
Yeah, you know, you have to go and fetch the water, and who fucking knows what if something's fallen in there and now that water's contaminated, and then you go and drink it.
Maybe some dude that's pissed in it up the street.
Who knows, man? Exactly right. Exactly right. I always think about that with the you know, you know, like how like they talk about Machu Picchu, how it has like the aqueducts and how that's like, how did they make the water run off? Like technically this like as far as like construction site is concerned, this shit should just slide off the side of the mountain first rainfall, but they constructed it in such a way that it had a filtration system that everything just stayed. And then it's like you said, like for all you know, because the water as it ran off from the top of Machu Picchu, it was diverted into people's homes and stuff like that, and then off the side of the hill, so they had free flowing water. And it's like, what if some person's pissing up there? You know what I mean? Like,
that's right. Really testing those ancient filtration systems.
Man, definitely.
So, okay, I'm a bit curious about this because you mentioned that you left home at 17, right?
Yep.
So when you finished school, what did you have any ideas what you wanted to do?
No. So again, a spontaneous thing, right? And again, I guess that's fueled with anger issues as a kid. I was year 11. The end of year 11, I left. Okay. I again like a class clown, blah blah blah. But I was in, you know, what we guess you'd call smart classes and whatever. But I always kind of, you know, made the fool of myself. I somehow. I got into the SRC, right? That's the
Student Representative Council.
Yeah. I did it as a joke, you know, because like all like the real serious nerd kids in my year would like, they're like, yeah, like that was like a big thing for them to get on that, and I just was like, what if I go and do it and see if I get? And everyone's like, yeah, do it. So I went and did it and got chose. You know what I mean? Yeah. But we played a prank on a mate of mine, and some kid in the lower grade saw us.
Oh no!
And dobbed us in.
Well, so you got to talk me the prank.
We just went and like glad wrapped our mate's car and like, you know, like put eggs on it and just dumb shit. You know what I mean? Like he just got his license and stuff like that, so we're just fucking with him. And some kids saw us doing it in between because we had a free period, and then I don't know how this kid what he was doing out because he was in a year that doesn't get that, but he saw us, and before you know it, before the end of the next period, we're getting called in to see the deputy's office, and you know that gets brought up. Blah, blah, you'll see him doing this, and so okay, yeah, no worries. So we all admit to it and whatever. All right, so we all get suspended, but then they pull me aside. We're gonna make an example. You know, we're kicking you off the SRC, this and that, and kind of like pulled me out of some of the extracurricular things that I was doing at the time.
Yep.
You know, I helped with the light and sound, like doing the like any of the hall stuff, like assemblies or presentations, whatever. A couple of students were allocated to do the lighting and sound, so I helped out with that, and they kicked me off that sort of program and whatnot.
Wow.
And I kind of felt like I don't know. I felt like they just kind of took it a bit hard on me.
Yeah, unfairly targeting you.
I felt that way. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe they didn't. I know that I didn't have a good relationship with the deputy principals just because I was somewhat of a class clown. But even though academically I was doing really well, went off, had the suspension, the 1 week suspension, came back to school. I had no thought in my head of leaving school, like no thought in my mind at all. Sat there with my mum, with the principal, and just felt like this dude just berated me for like 15 minutes straight in front of my mother. You know, you're really smart, like we expect so much more from you, but you don't do this, you don't apply yourself, blah, blah. And like, it's probably all constructive criticism that I probably should have taken on board. But at that point in time, I just saw it as this dude just ragging on me. And I was like, he just kept on going. And I just interrupted and I said, look, can you just sign me out? He's like, what? I was like, just sign me out of school. I'm done. My mum's looking at me like, what are you saying? What are you saying? And I was like,
where'd this come from?
Fully. I was like, look, like We played a prank on our friend. Cool, punish us for that. Suspend us. Cool, no worries. But then you go on and taken all these other things that I had earned away from me, and you don't want to reinstate that. Like they weren't interested in letting me go back to the SRC or anything like that. Not that it meant anything to me because I had done it as a joke, but like at the same time, it was still something that I had, and they didn't want to give it to me. So I was like, you know what, I'm out. Forget it. I'm done. And yeah, I signed out. I had a job at the local caravan park where I live, so I went home and just told them I can work as many shifts as you want. I just left school, so I worked the summer, and Cronulla was the place that I knew as a kid because my grandparents lived here. So anytime we came to Sydney to visit my grandparents, it was to come to Cronulla. And it had the same sort of like surf culture, surf vibes, skater vibes sort of thing. So it was the only place that I knew outside of where I lived. And I was kind of working towards that. And I just said to Mum, hey, look, I want to obviously I need to get a proper job. Because my mum was like, if you left school, you need to do something, you need to get an apprenticeship or something like that. And I was like, well, what does Bateman's Bay have to offer me? And it's like, what, be a carpenter, be a sparky? And I was like, yeah, I don't really interest into any of that stuff. But I had to do something. The only experience I had was working at Woolworths in the deli, or as my mate's dad called it, I was a underwater ceramic technician, just washing dishes at the local ceramic technician. Yeah, just
that's cool.
Yeah. You gotta look at it like that, mate. So that's all I had, and I was like, so it was like square one sort of thing. And my mum spoke to my granddad, and he was like, yeah, he can come live up here. I have a friend who runs an automotive shop, so we can see if he wants an apprentice. And the guy, sure enough, said yeah. So went up there and started doing that. But once again, my anger issues and my inability to, I guess, deal with authority got the better of me, and we within a few months of me being there, we were clashing heads. Not with my grandparents, with this gentleman who had the automotive business, and I left that, and then my grandfather again helped me get another apprenticeship as a shop fitter. So like cabinet making, I did that for 12 months. I started the TAFE course, same thing, running into people in the workplace, more so just older guys who, I look, it's a rite of passage as an apprentice, right? You have the older guy who,
bit of hazing,
who's going to beat down on you, who's going to like talk shit to you all the time, he's going to make fun of you, he's going to belittle you, and again, I had this issue with authority. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, like I guess what's going through my mind is like, do you think that stems from, I guess, that experience with your biological father, and I guess like, when you see him conduct himself in a way that is not conducive to how you believe a man should conduct himself, it turns you off the idea that this person should have authority over you?
I'm going like currently I'm like evaluating myself as a person. Like I'm in the motions of like, going to see a professional and talk to people. I don't think it's more like me having a disdain for authority or people shouldn't have a control of me, but it's more of I immediately take a defensive stance. So when someone comes at me with something or whatever it may be, I immediately defend myself. I guess that just like, my dad used to beat the shit out of me.
Yeah. It's a protective mechanism.
Yeah, and then on top of that, getting bullied and ridiculed by the older kids in my local town, which you can't escape from. You can't go down the road. You can't ride your bike without going past one of them. You know what I mean? There's never a chance where I'm riding home after skating and I get confronted by two of them in the laneway and probably get beat up or something like that. That could happen any day because it's so small, my area.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, older kids at school that want to join in on it and stuff like that. So I guess I've always kind of had to defend myself, which coupled with having so much anger inside of me and, just this burning hatred for these people who are doing these things to me, for reasons I didn't know why. I guess that kind of just became this whole head clash with authority.
Yeah.
Anyone who projected themselves upon me, I just immediately thought, fuck this, like defend myself. But I wouldn't just defend myself in like the shell up and defend. I was like
attacking.
I come head first. Like I'm just going to run at it.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I knew.
Yeah.
that's the only way I figured it out. You know what I mean? And this is
try and get them to back away.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was getting. If I didn't, I was just going to get beat up.
Yeah.
So it's like I had to fight back. And that's the thing. These people, like, as a kid, these guys, I guess, knew that. So they'd push and push and push until I reacted. And when I reacted, I fucking snapped.
Yeah.
Like I'd go crazy. I'd start crying and just swinging and doing like, just that full like berserk mode sort of thing. And they all got a fucking kick out of it.
Yeah.
So like I guess that kind of then, like I still deal with that. Like I don't just while out and go berserk. I'm a lot more controlled with that now. But like now it's more like internal. It's more like constantly acting like I'm annoyed or something pisses me off really easy and stuff like that. And so
I think it's also hard to reconcile, like when these things are happening to you, you sort of your initial response is to sort of think, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Right? You blame yourself
Yeah.
for some of these things, and probably even for the large portion of these things, right? And it's almost like a, when you sit back and evaluate that sometimes, people just do fucked up things.
Yeah.
Right? And then you got to start to realize that, it wasn't necessarily something that was your issue. Mm-hmm. Like, your dad beating up on you, that's not your issue. That's your dad's issue.
Yeah.
Right? But you still, like, internally, it's very difficult to get away from blaming yourself. I know that, like, when my kids have gotten in trouble, right? And then, like, they're in trouble. They've got to, face the consequences of the punishment.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always make sure that I try and sit down with them after to talk about, what, like, I know obviously they're upset at me for, not getting this or that or whatever the case may be. It's like, okay, so let's talk about it, right? Yeah. Let's talk about why you're upset.
Yeah.
And are you upset that you got punished, or are you upset that
you didn't get the thing you wanted or something like that?
Yeah. And it's like, trying to help them to understand that, my role as a dad, well, like what I try and do is, I'm there to help them express and push on as many boundaries as they like, but to do so in a safe way.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So, you can play up, you can, like, I'm probably, the opposite to most parents. Like, when my kids fight, fight. Like, but before you fight, let's clear the mat. You go on the mat.
Yeah.
And you go until, if one of you cries or both of you cries or you both don't want to participate anymore, then we stop.
Yeah.
And I just say, look, no punching or kicking, but you can grapple, you can wrestle, you can sit on each other, you can jump on each other, you do whatever you like.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're done, that's it. We stop.
There's no more talking about it.
Yeah. And like, like I often find that, my wife probably goes, oh, you're encouraging them to be violent. No. I'm encouraging them to express themselves and get out their physical energy.
Yeah. Well, it's like the motto of my gym, strength through adversity. So like, I feel, although it's taken 20 odd years.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a much stronger person, a lot more aware of my flaws, aware of my my own insecurities and stuff like this. And sure, don't get me wrong, I still battle. Like, it's still hard. Like, I still fuck up. I still make the mistakes of doing the things that I'm trying to rectify. But if I didn't go through, like, I kind of like look back on things and I'm like, if I didn't go through a lot of the bullshit that I went through, like, would I be the same Kaine that people know me as today?
Yeah.
I don't think I would be.
No.
I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have done well with jiu-jitsu. That's for sure. Like, everyone who does jiu-jitsu and has done for a long period of time, even any sort of combat sports, if you can't stand the heat, you need to get out the kitchen, sort of thing. Like, and if I didn't have that I wouldn't say desire, but like that need to confront things that are opposing on me by going head first, then like I don't think I would have. I think I would have been one of those blue belts that dropped out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, just I don't really know if that explains it
No,
it well or not, but like, yeah, that's like, how I look at it.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, part of the reason why I asked that is because, like, I just, when you internalize some things, like, I just wonder, you know, do you, like, as you said, you still get those negative thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like, you know, I think the thing that comes with maturity is, like, you know, the ability to sort of take a step back and go, okay, hang on a second, you know, perhaps I'm over internalizing this.
Yeah.
And, you know, and as you would have worked out, you know, in those working environments, like, every time you're clashing, it's like at some point you gotta sort of go, okay, hang on, perhaps my actions are complicit in like getting some of these responses, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like, working out those sort of internal levers that keep driving those specific actions, it's, you know, you obviously, you know, realize that now and you're working through those things. But it's not an easy thing to come to. You know, a lot of people, like, they just keep making the same mistakes throughout life because they've never taken that moment to sort of pause and then go, okay, hang on a second. If I keep getting like this similar outcome where, you know, things don't go well, or like, you know, somebody's trying to bully me or whatever, and then I just like go straight head on into confrontation every single time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, hang on. Perhaps, you know, I need to rethink my strategy, right?
Yeah.
But because, like, you know, you always go back to these habits that were formed, you know, in your childhood, right? Like, it's really hard to untrain some of those things. You know, it's like how they say, you know, you can't outwork a shitty diet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Likewise, you know, you can't avoid some of the things that you experience early in life. You actually have to just, you know, take stock and rework and work through a lot of those things.
Yeah, definitely. I was just had a freaking mind blank for a second because as you were explaining, I was kind of playing it all in my head as well. I guess, like, trying to, at the age of, I'm 36 this year, only just now realizing that some of the things, like, as I think back on some of the confrontations verbally, physically, that I've had over the years, and I start to think, you know, like, you know, maybe some of these things that were said to me, like, there's some key ones that maybe that's true, you know what I mean? Like, the one that comes to my mind immediately is I had a workplace confrontation, this was a couple of years back, and even though in my mind I thought I was being very calm and just, like, again, defensive, the individual said to me, like, you sound like you'd like to argue. And I was like, no, I don't think I do. But it's like, because I feel the need to defend myself and state my case. Yeah, it comes across as me just being, you know, a bit arrogant and like, I have to get my point across. Like, I want an argument. Like, I want this to be an argument. Yeah. When I should just go, like, okay, whatever, and then it's done. So, like, things like that, you know, like,
I think, yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, you can get yourself in this mentality of, like, you want to force a resolution.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you know, so when conflicts occur, it's like, okay, I need to force a resolution.
Yeah.
Where sometimes it's like, okay, we don't need to force a resolution. We actually just need to take a step away.
Yeah, because what was the people used to always say, you know, like don't go to bed angry.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. Like, now it's like, no, you should go to bed angry.
Think about it.
Yeah, if you don't go to, because if you insist on not going to bed angry, well, then you're trying to force, like you said, a resolution, and that resolution or whatever you may come to agreement with the person may not be the true outcome that's needed. It's just whatever will shut you up for now, sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a guy, Peter DiPrinzio, who's also been on the podcast, and he's cancer survivor, but he talks about, you know, don't react, respond.
Yeah.
Right? Because reaction is like you're going with the first emotion that comes to you when something happens. Yeah. A response actually takes time to craft.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. We have that written in big letters in my work, at the factory at my work, and it's listen to, what was it? Listen to learn, not to respond. Yeah. Or something like that. From memory, listen to learn, not to respond. And I was like, it kind of makes sense, you know, like, just because someone speaking to you in a way that you feel is maybe some people do it in the wrong way. Some people do speak in a bit of a condescending way when it's that they're trying to tell you something of importance or whatever. I've been guilty of that in the past. It's like not always is what they're saying is intentionally meant for you to bite at.
Yeah.
It's like, but like, you know, you got to remember too, like, especially in like in any sort of trade, building, friggin' construction, whatever, where there's, you know, a lot of dangerous shit going on, you know, it's like, it's a very physical, very like fast, hardcore kind of environment every day. And it's like, everyone's flustered, everyone's working their ass off, you know, something's fucked up or someone's doing something they've been told multiple times, hey, don't do it like that. And you just got to say it, and you say it in like a really, really negative way. And it's like, it just happens.
Like your fingers.
Yeah, but it just happens. And it's just like I do it too. Like, and it's another thing that I try so hard not to do. But then sometimes it gets to that point and you're like, Jesus Christ, like fucking, how many times have I told you, like, don't start cutting this when there's someone standing there. It's gonna fucking hit them. You're gonna hurt. Like, last thing and it's not coming from a place of insult. It's coming from a place of like urgency. It's like, you need to understand.
Yeah.
Because if something goes wrong, it's like maimed or death.
Yeah.
Especially in my industry. Like, if you don't dot your I's and cross your T's, someone's dying or someone's going home debilitated.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's just like my whole world is just like pure chaos. It's like my childhood, and then now like the job that I'm in. It's like so highly strung, super stressful, but it's also at the same time a lot of things that I do requires intelligence. So it's like, it's
how do you keep a level head but still get
be able
to drive the right urgency outcomes?
Exactly right. It's like one of those things. Like you got to be in the calm and in the moment, but at the same time, it's like shit. Like, it's like everything's so crazy. Everything's like I don't know if that explains it correctly, but like that's what I feel like my life's like.
Yeah. So how did you get into Arborism? So you did the shop fitting.
Yeah.
What was after? Was
so
it
that
Arborism
that was So after, same sort of thing, like, you know, just head clash after head clash in the workplace lead to me. I'm quitting. I did the 12 months, and then I resigned from the shop fitting. And again, I'm living out of home. I've been out of home since I was 17. I was living in a unit in Cronulla with two mates. So 3 dudes in a 2-bedroom unit. And me and my buddy Sean, who I grew up with, we shared the larger room. So it was pretty funny. It kind of reminded me of like the old hotel rooms. You go in and there's like a bed and a little wooden table in between. Yep. That's how our bedroom was set up. It was kind of like going to grandma's house sort of thing. But like, I had to pay rent, and it's like, shit, I just left the job without having a job, and rent's due in 6 days. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And you know, like, I've never been one to be on the dole. Yeah. I've tried it, and like the rings they make you jump through just to start receiving payment. I was like, fuck this. Like, this is I don't have a license, so I have to travel from Cronulla to Caringbah, which is two stations on the train, which is like, oh, it's just jump on the train, but that's more money spent. So you're trying to hop the train and not pay for a ticket. And if I get caught, you know, there's all these sorts of things going on as a 18, 19-year-old kid. And so like I just never wanted to be a part of that. So it's like, I just want money. Yeah. I just want to get money so I can pay my rent, and just whoever has a fucking job, whatever it is, I'll do it, sort of thing. And then my auntie, she messaged me, and she's like, I got a friend who runs a tree company. He lives in Cronulla. Give him a call. He might use you as a labourer. I was like, okay, what the fuck's tree work? Didn't know what that mean. Didn't know any of that. Give this guy a call. He's like, yeah, no worries, mate. Where are you? And I'm like, in Cronulla. And he's like, all right, come to my house at 4 o'clock, like this afternoon. I was like, fuck, rightio. Went to this guy's house, met him. And like the very first thing he said to me was, do you smoke bongs? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. And he's like, oh, well, you stop now. And I was like, okay.
he was a big dude. You know, he's from the area. He's Double Dragon. You know, the kickboxing gym under Sifu Mick Spinks there. When Mick Spinks owned it, he was a kickboxer from there. You know, like he's done all that sort of stuff. He not a small guy, likes to lift weights. So he was kind of like I guess his name's Chris Capsis. I guess he was the dude who kind of, in a sense, he was one of the first guys that I kind of had as a role model, as an older man, as a role model that was in that side of the world, which now I'm in.
Yep.
And I had, and then like through him, I that's how tree serve. That's how my career started in tree work. I was picking up fucking log. I remember the first day. It was in summer. It was summer as well. And he was like, all right. I was like, well, what do you want me to bring to work? And he's like, I'll pick you up in the morning. I'll be at your house at 6:30. And I was like, in my house, like fucking hell. I was like, rightio. Okay, just wear some board shorts and any work boots you got. Okay, did that, and it was like 30-degree day. And it was just like me, him, and one other guy. And it was just carrying fucking logs. Like, I've never picked up heavy weight like this. I wasn't lifting weights in a gym, so like, this was the closest thing to doing a deadlift to me, you know. And I just got my ass kicked, like physically for months and months and months. And then it kind of reflected into when I started jiu-jitsu. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
Just got my ass beat. Like, this was like old school too. Like, it was, you know, MMA was on the rise, you know. The gentleman who gave me my black belt, Bernardo Treco. So he was
Treco.
Yeah, an Aussie MMA guy.
Yep.
Brazilian, but you know, as far as Aussie pioneering goes. So during that time of like CFC and stuff like that, you know, that's when I started jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu gyms were still a very
there wasn't many around.
No, and it was still a very very hard-nosed environment. It still carried that and especially being the two guys who ran the gym were MMA fighters, so even more so hard-nosed. It was like show up, beat the shit out of each other, go home sort of thing, come back tomorrow.
Yep.
And yeah, so I just got same thing, just got my ass kicked in there for a good 12 months or something like that. And but that life, that idea of just like showing up, running at something head first and working hard, that's all I've known. That's my mother worked, you know, like 2 to 3 jobs once my dad left to give us the things we had. Like, I'm not going to say, like, just because I grew up in a household that was heavy on domestic violence, my house was nice. It wasn't shit. Like, but it was only nice because my mum worked her ass off for it to be nice. Like, we didn't own anything. We didn't own a house, but like, the house was always presentable. It wasn't like I was in a housing commission. Yeah, I wasn't in that world. And I'm very thankful for that because where I live, that's readily available. You know, there's a. I don't want to sound racist or anything like that, but like there was where I grew up is a large Indigenous community, and there is a large percentage of them that do live in that kind of housing commission world there, for whatever reasons. That's theirs. It's like I just, as a kid, that's what I saw, but thankfully I wasn't in. That wasn't my reality. I did have, you know, a lot of the issues that some of them did have, but just not on their scale, I guess. But I was thankful that I had a mother and an older sister, specifically a mother who was willing to work multiple jobs, you know, all day while we're at school, and then have my older sister from the age of 13 look after us of a night while she goes and waits tables at a restaurant.
Wow.
You know, so like...
Sacrifice.
Yeah, and that was so I could have a PlayStation 1 when the PlayStation 1 came out, you know what I mean? To have that brand new bodyboarding wetsuit that I've been dying for. But like, I wouldn't get them at the drop of a hat. It was like, if it was my birthday or if it was Christmas. If there was something that I really want, Mum would always say, hey, what do you really want for Christmas this year? You got like one thing. What do you really want? Yeah. And I'd say it and it would happen. Yeah. But she'd fucking work her ass off for that. So that's all I knew. That's all I saw. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing though.
It is.
Like, I think, you know, the love of a mother, for everyone that has a really good mum, it's like, you can't beat that.
Yeah. And like my children don't have that environment. Like that environment doesn't exist. There's no, me and my wife very, very rarely argue. If there is an argument, it's not a screaming match. It's just a disagreement, which is common. But even still, ours are very few and far between. We both work. Okay, my wife works from home. She makes a good earning working from home. I obviously have my business doing tree work and now the gym. We're both very hardworking individuals, which in a sense might seem like it takes away from our kids, but everything is for our kids. Everything is given back to our kids. So our kids do have a good life in that sense. I don't like my job as an arborist. Haven't for a very long time, for about 5-6 years. But again, all I know is hard work. So in my head, it's the job that earns me the most money. And I have people that rely on me bringing home as much money as I can.
Yeah. This is my golden handcuffs analogy, right?
Yeah.
Because you get yourself to this position where it's like, you're getting the money that feeds the lifestyle that you want to have.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's also like, okay, but sometimes your life goals change.
That's true.
And so but you got these golden handcuffs on.
Yeah.
Right? Because, at the end of the day, they're still made of gold.
Yes.
Your hands are tied.
Yes.
But they're still made of gold.
Yeah. To be fair, I have like I used to work like when my first son was born. So we only had 2 kids at the time. So my eldest is a girl. She's 13. She's not my biological daughter, but I've been her stepfather since she was 2.
Yep.
So she's my daughter in my eyes. I was working. We were living in a different place to where we are now, but I was working 6 days a week. Whenever the railways would have their work shutdowns in certain zones, I'd jump on those because they just try and get every trade in the door and do as much work as they can on their assets. So that 5-6 day a week work could turn into 7 days a week for 3-4 weeks straight, sort of thing. And I was making bank, making fucking bank. Bought my wife like a brand new Grand Cherokee, it's murdered out SUV family car. Like fuck yeah, my kids had good clothes, like whatever you wanted. If my wife wanted something, fuck yeah, I'll buy it. Didn't care. But then again, that was that whole story you talked about earlier about chasing the money, and then eventually it turned me into an asshole. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people out there think I'm an asshole still.
Yeah, look, I think it's more just like, I think it might sound sexist, but specifically as men, we have this desire to obviously want to provide for our families.
Yeah.
And any family man would know this, right? But I think there's a point of diminishing returns where if you're working so hard that you don't spend time with your family, right? Like all your kids would really actually want is just time with daddy. Right? Yeah. And I think, I used to always talk about this, I call them industry statistics, guys that work in specific industries where the culture is work. Yeah. And then they end up divorced. Yeah. Or they end up not missing out on the best years of their kids' lives.
Yeah.
At the years when they really, really want to spend time with you.
Yeah.
Right? Because, every dad would know that when their kids get to probably, maybe even as 14-year-olds, they probably want to start spending more time with their friends and less time.
Yeah, definitely.
Less time with daddy, right?
Yeah. So,
when I sort of reflected on that, I was like, okay, I need to make some changes so that I'm not working 5.5, 6 days a week.
Yeah, that's what I try to do now.
Yeah, and make the most of it, because when the kids then decide that, hey, we don't need as much time with daddy, then daddy can always go back and do all these other things. Yeah. That's why I don't train nights at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
Is because it's family time for us.
Yeah.
When the kids are older and then they decide, okay, well, we've got our own things to do at night, whether they're training or whether they're doing whatever programs and things like that, then it's like, okay, well, daddy's going to go back to the gym.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of changed my, when I stopped contracting commercially, I got on with one of the local companies around here who's a well-established company within the Sutherland Shire. And I started, just doing like 1 day a week for them sort of thing. And then it kind of progressed. And I kind of just like, you know what? I'm sick of traveling. This is literally like I live over in Bundina, so I'm in the national park.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's like a 25-minute drive from. It's not that like the suburbs are very close, but because of the national
You
park,
gotta go around.
yeah, exactly right.
But it's a nice drive every
Oh
day.
bloody oath! Bloody oath! Don't get me wrong. Gives me a lot of time to reflect and think about stuff.
Yeah.
But like I do. Like I was like, cool, got to deal with these dudes, which allows me to only work 4 days a week.
Yep.
Right? Like 4 days a week, I make good money, and it makes enough to, I just worked it out, like it covers my costs to run my business. It covers my family. It still brings in a good income for my family. I'm able to do essentially what I would like, what I want to do. Don't get me wrong, like I still have to, if I want to have a holiday or whatever, I got to put money away. That money's not readily available, but it took a lot of that need to chase, that desire to chase money, and I still get to provide my family with a lifestyle and a family home that I made a promise to myself to not allow what I went through
To happen.
be in my household.
Yeah.
Which I'm thankful for. But then again, now there's a double-edged sword. I started the gym, so now I'm here every night as well. So it's like now I'm back in that spot where it's like I work all day, I come home, I'm home for an hour or two, and then I go again. It does get to me about like time with my family. I try to make the weekends it's about the family.
100% about the family, yeah.
Yeah, so like the Saturday class here is it's 9 a.m. I made it early for a reason, so that if I have to be here, like Liam helps me out. Liam looks after the class Saturday mornings. But if I have to be here, it's generally like my kids will sleep in on a weekend, right?
Yep.
So I can usually be up and be out. And by the time I get home at around 10:30 sort of thing, 11 o'clock, everyone's only been up for an hour or so. No one really knows what the hell they want to do. And it's Saturday. So I've got the rest of the day and Sunday to be with my family, which is that's a good thing. But soccer season started as well. So like everyone in my family plays soccer except for me. I'd rather destroy my knees doing jiu-jitsu than soccer like I used to. So now, like, again, I got thankful that I have someone like Liam Wilson, who's a purple belt, to take the Saturdays for me. So now I get up. So now my weekends literally since soccer season, every time soccer season starts, especially with the gym now, literally is family. It's family weekend. I wake up, I have my 3 kids play soccer on Saturday, and my wife plays on Sunday. So that's my weekends now. It's just soccer. That's the family orientated thing. And usually Saturday night we'll go out for dinner, or we'll just get like takeaway from locally here in Bundina and sit down and do it that way. And I was like, even though I can't be there right now every day of the week like I would like to, I'm kind of trying to find that the spaces where I can be there, it's just 100% there.
Well, yeah, I think that's it's better to have quality time than just quantity of time.
Yeah.
Making sure that those moments when you do get to spend the time with them, it's like you can put some focus in that. And that it's difficult for every parent because you're trying to balance so many different things.
Yeah.
But I think it's also good because at the end of the day, you're also working on something that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that also makes it worthwhile as well, because if it's important to you, then your kids will also understand that, hey, this is important to daddy. Daddy's going to feel better as a result of doing these things. And then at the same time, if you never start, you'll always wonder if.
Yeah.
But now that you started, it's like it's an opportunity that, okay, maybe one day this just becomes all you need to worry about.
Well, I kind of hope that, like I said before, I don't like my job as an arborist.
Yeah.
I haven't liked it.
It's a means to an end. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't liked it for a long time. But again, those golden handcuffs, it provides what I need for now.
Yep.
And I've just started the gym. So now I'm on that path of building it to the point where I can no longer have to do the trees. And I hope that in doing so, my children see, again, all I know is hard work. So I hope my children see, hey, regardless, if I put my head down and I work hard, whether I'm skilled or not, I can achieve. And I've like I've never thought myself as talented or athletic. I've never really kind of seen myself in that light. I've just seen myself as being, as long as I'm attracted to what I'm doing, I will push to do it to the very best that I can. And you know, that, I guess as far as jiu-jitsu concerned, like I never got to be one of the guys that got to go overseas and do all that sort of stuff because I had a family so young and I had a business here to run and whatever. But I still was able to, you know, win basically all the major tournaments Australia had to offer during that period there. Like as in the gi, like I've won Pan Pacs, Nationals, State, the AJP stuff. Before it used to be the UAE Jiu-Jitsu, whatever it was then. Like I've won those events. I've done that. You know, I've always been someone during competition time through the belts. You know, someone that was either winning or on the podium. You know what I mean? Like I was always amongst the top couple of guys. Again, I just saw that as hard work. I did all that whilst working full time and trying to be a dad and trying to provide a life and stuff like that.
Do your kids currently train?
So my daughter has zero interest.
Yep.
She's just like very, very teeny bop, very, you know, like wants to be with her friends, you know.
It's not cool, Dad.
Yeah, like, and she's like, even when she was younger, like she was always princesses and stuff like that. Like never was interested. My boy Pax, my middle boy, he trained for about 2 years and then he started primary school and just said, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu anymore.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to force it.
Yeah.
I can't, because then again, that becomes that life that I had as a kid. It's like, I don't want them to resent me or for whatever reason. My youngest boy, Oscar, he's 5 now, so like he can start jiu-jitsu. We don't have a kids program at my gym at the moment, just with the setup here at the moment. But it's something that we will look at doing. He's a lot like me as a kid. He's really intense when he wants to be intense. Yeah. I reckon he would enjoy it. But look, at the end of the day, I started jiu-jitsu when I was 20. 20, nearly 21. Yeah. All right? Yeah. Because I'm 36 this year, 15. Yeah, 15 years, yeah. So, like, there's all the time in the world. Like, unless my kids come to me and say, hey, Dad, I want to do what you do and I want to be the best at it. It's like, there's no point me pushing. I do understand. I do agree, and I understand the benefits of doing a martial art as a kid. And I think it's good for any kid to do any kind of martial art, like whether it's jiu-jitsu or some other martial art that you might think is bullshit as an adult. For a kid, the principles are all the same. Yeah, a lot of like games and team building and just learning to be under instruction and stuff like that. Just helping them become, I guess, coachable, just to be, you know, even if they don't pursue martial arts in the long run, they're going to be able to be taught a skill, which I think is very important as a kid, which I feel like, you know, that's something that we should be taught more in class, in schools and whatnot, but we don't. Even though they do, I guess, do things in a way to try and make you, well, it's like the whole idea of going to school is to learn, right? But kids in school are only going to be teachable if they want to be teachable. Yeah. And if you're not one of these kids, they punish you and kick you out. Yeah. Well, you're never really told consciously how to learn. Yeah, exactly. Right? Everything, like when you're a baby and you're a toddler, like they pick up everything through just being in this environment, osmosis. You know, like they're seeing things happen. They're seeing other kids stand. Monkey see, monkey do. Monkey see, monkey do. And then, so you take that for granted. I think it's only like I think that's one good thing about
you know, how a lot of people, when they get into jiu-jitsu, they do a lot of self-directed learning, and they actually try and work out how it is that they learn.
Yeah.
You know, they work out what their own learning style is, so what's the best way for them to retain information. You know, there's people that love to take notes. There's people that watch a lot of instructionals. There's people that just need to roll. Like, there's so many different ways that you can learn, but identifying that style. And, like, when you go to school, like, I don't really think kids get taught, you know, okay, this is how to learn things. They're just sort of, it's almost rote learned.
Yeah, it is. It's just, especially in the senior years of school, you know, your teacher stands there and talks about a topic, and then they start writing and you start copying. Yeah. Or they say, open up to page XYZ, go to this paragraph and copy it, basically, you know what I mean? Yeah. Write into your books. And the thing was, like, even in school, like I said, like I was intelligent. I like to think I still am intelligent in some way, even though I've probably lost a lot more brain cells these days. But like I never was one of these kids that would study. I never crammed. I never like flipped through my books. I never did that. But somehow I always got good marks. Again, like I said, if it's something that attracts me and I'm interested to, like, I will do good at it. I just have to be attracted to it. And after, I guess the good thing for as far as jiu-jitsu is concerned with me is that that like having to learn to be comfortable, like that was, what's the saying, like learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, yada yada yada, that sort of stuff. Like, as much as it sounds corny and stuff like that, like for me personally, like that's how it all worked out for me. Like, I just had to go there, got beat up, and realized, like, okay, like I like this. Like I like what I see. I can't physically do that right now, but like I like what I'm seeing people do, and that's pretty fucking cool. So I take an interest, and then just run at it head first and build from there.
Did you ever, I guess, when it comes to getting beat up at training, it's one of those things where there are people that really love it, that experience of like being shit at something and getting your ass handed to you. And there are other people that, you know, to get them into the sport, you need a softer approach. Yeah, right?
That's becoming more, like we spoke about earlier, like the gym that I started at, like if there was no soft approach. Like if you were soft, you were called a pussy and you left. You know what I mean? That's that's literally it. Like, it's like if you complain, it's like you know, in broken English, like, oh, you fucking pussy, bro, fuck off. You know, like, oh fuck.
But it's funny, like, 'cause it sets the gym culture.
Yeah, but you don't know if you don't know if it's serious or if it's probably not. It's probably, you know, like Aussie, it's banter. You know what I mean? Like, but like some people take it serious. And if you're going to take that serious, well, then you're not going to survive here.
Yeah, look, I think, you know, it's pretty confronting when you go to your first jiu-jitsu session, if you've never done any combat sports before and you get crushed. Yeah. Right? And then if your instructor was to turn around and say, you fucking pussy, you tap to pressure. You know, and it's like, oh, fuck.
We used to always get teased for, like, if you had your hair, like, remotely long, like not even long, just like remotely too long, like past your ears. You're like, fuck, what's this haircut, bro? Fucking cut this shit. Like, go shave it. Be a man. Yeah. Like, stuff like that, you know, like, and like, I understand the world today. Like, I get it. Like, I don't agree with a lot of it. But at the same time, like, I'm also of the mind, like, if that's what you want to do, like, fuck, that's what you got to do. You do you, sort of thing. Yeah. Just don't affect me. If you're gonna affect me, then we're gonna have problems. Yeah. But I feel like if you coddle that culture, then you're just breeding more of that culture. At some point in time, you have to harden up. At some point, like, if you want to, like how can you do a sport like jiu-jitsu or kickboxing or MMA or boxing in general, any combat sport, and even though you really like it, you just don't like being touched. You don't like being pushed too hard. Yeah, it's a really strange
kind of conundrum to be in, right? Because often I think, you know, when I think from a coaching perspective, there could be like a potential, you know, future world champion.
Yeah.
And the only reason that they don't become one is because their first initial interaction with the sport was a negative one for them.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So it's like, you know, there's a fine line that has to be drawn. But I think, you know, it's like there are people that say you can't teach heart, right? Like, so it's a very common saying in boxing, right?
I reckon you can. Heart. You definitely can.
Yeah.
You most definitely can teach heart.
You can build
the biggest and best example of someone learning heart is Ben Moses.
Yeah.
If anyone listening doesn't know who Ben Moses is, you need to pay attention. Man, I was there when Ben first came to grappling education. I've watched that kid from being this slightly overweight, timid little boy who used to come with his mum. His mum used to, sorry if I'm embarrassing Ben at all, but like
shout out Ben.
Yeah, no, but Ben's 100% behind this. We've joked about it so many times because who Ben Moses is that you see today competing and doing like the Grapplemania events and just the weekend at the ADCC event, you know, he came in as like one of the most scared, timid little boys that I personally have interacted with in a jiu-jitsu gym. His mum used to come in, she'd sit there, she'd watch, he'd participate a little bit, and then slowly over time he'd participate a bit more, and then eventually mum would come to the front door, drop him off, and then now it's the point now where Ben is fit, very fit boy. His whole demeanor's changed. He's very, he talks. He's joking. You know, he's witty. He's charismatic. You see him strut down the street if you drive past and you see him walking to the gym. You know, he's strutting down to the gym. Yeah, confidence through the freaking roof. You know what I mean? From a kid that wouldn't make eye contact and just look at the ground to now this kid that's like staring at the clouds while walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like He's out there even as a teen, you know, like destroying grown men in competition. And I think that like the room at Grappling Education it's always welcome. Okay, everyone is welcome. It's always been inclusive. It doesn't matter. But the rule has always been like if you're gonna come here, you got to work because everyone there is down to work. And that's what I liked about Grappling Education. Everyone, regardless of skill level, regardless of whatever, you know. When we first started building people there, it was like a like the no white belt policy sort of thing that was there for a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that was just to kind of keep that energy. You know what I mean? It's like people who come here because they want to get good at jiu-jitsu. They want to excel at jiu-jitsu. They want to be the best person they can be at jiu-jitsu. Whether that means winning tournaments or just being a freaking weapon and still go work 9 to 5. You know what I mean? One of the biggest results from that, I personally, from my own personal experience, is Ben Moses. Yeah,
it's inspiring to see, like, you know, kids go through that change, and I think
definitely
one of the beautiful things about martial arts is that you can take somebody who might be lacking self-confidence and might be very timid or soft-spoken, and you can have positive influences into their personality and into their growth.
Yeah,
right. And even to like their physical condition. But yeah, like at the same time, you know, Ben's introduction to jiu-jitsu wouldn't have been like, you know, get on the mat, do 100 push-ups, you pussy.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like
it was definitely not like that.
It's not the hard-nosed, you know,
no.
Old school kind of, you know, not traditional, but like, you know, jiu-jitsu mentality. Just.
But I don't think you would have had it easy either. Like,
yeah,
like I guess GE has. Well, I'm sure it still has a bit of that reputation now, but like its main reputation was of being, you know, like a competitive room for our area. Like there, like this on the south side of Sydney, on this side of Sydney, there isn't much of that.
Yeah,
and kind of like G became that because it spawned from, you know, Kel being a competitive, someone who I've fought in competition. You know, me and Kel fought a couple of times as purple belts. He was always one belt ahead of me, and every time I matched his belt, we'd have a match, and then like within the next month, he's changed belt.
He's trying to get ahead of you.
Yeah, no. Kel's like, I've like the relationship with Kel started by again running headfirst at each other.
Yeah.
then like John Mistakidis as well, like another guy who's, he's been overseas, he's done that sort of stuff as well. He was there at the beginning of it all with the gi and stuff like that. But it was GE was literally started as a room by competitors looking for just hard training. So it was just inviting people who competed.
Yeah.
So obviously it's gonna develop into that reputation of just being like a competitive room, which can be very standoffish if it's not what you're looking for. But thankfully, like, look at the success of GE, you know what I mean? Like, thankfully, there are a lot of people, like I said, who may not be competitors in the sense of going and doing every competition, but they want that intensity. They want that. They want to be able to go and feel their lungs burn and feel like they've done something, you know what I mean? Like, they've got smashed, or even if they smashed people, whatever, like, they feel like that burn is what they needed. It's a way to get rid of the issues of the day, rather than go and punch a punching bag or swing some friggin' weights around. They go there and do that, which, don't get me wrong, even in a competitive jiu-jitsu room where a lot of people are competitors, those people help so much because they just bring intensity.
Yeah, you need the bodies.
Yeah, and they bring intensity. And they're keen. They're keen. It doesn't matter. Like, if they don't care about winning XYZ comp, they just want to fucking go hard for that hour that they're there. Yeah, and that's good. That's what you want as a competitor. You want people who want to run at you. That's what you want.
Out of curiosity, because I know you're involved with a lot of the grappling events as well nowadays. Whether it was refereeing subversion and all those bits and pieces, right? Like, when you look at the development of the sport, you've been at 15 years now.
Yeah.
What do you think about how the Australian scene is going? And
it's insane. Jiu-Jitsu in Australia is on the up, and it's like it's going. It's going so the main guy for the ADCC here in Oceania is John Dunhue, the guy from Melbourne. He has a big
Donahue. Yeah.
Donahue. Yeah. It's I don't know how to pronounce it properly. I see it as like Dunhue, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
John
But he's like again, he's been a part of the ADCC for as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. He's got a really cool story. I'm gonna, I will get him on the podcast.
Yeah, man, he's a nice dude. He's a very nice guy. And I said it. I was like, man, like the kids that I ref some of the matches on the weekend at the ADCC event, and I was like, man, some of these kids are insane. Like, like the under 12-year-old division I had on my mat, and like these kids were coming out like as if they were like some of them come out like full ready to wrestle, like, light feet, snap on the head, like taking shots and faking shots. And then again on the flip side, there was another young boy. I can't remember his name. I think his name was Robert Sanderson, young kid who won his division. Shout out Robert Sanderson. Man, he came out and was just like full super technical jiu-jitsu. Came out pull guard playing De La Hiva, like working between like tipping people over and then getting to bait forward and shoot the triangles and like doing some really, really high level stuff for a kid who's under 12 years old. And that was, for me, seeing like just from being a competitor and going to the comps and being there all day and watching the kids go through and then this and that, to now being on the other side of the barrier and being involved and literally looking at it from I have to figure out who wins this, I have to judge this match at the same time. Gone are the days of kids where they'd come out and just like grab each other's gis and then just like push and shove until someone falls over, which still happens at the very, very young age. But like now it's like kids coming out and executing, like kids coming out with a plan, with like a game plan, like that's like they're being very strategic, they're being very tactical in their approach. They know the routes they're trying to look for. Like this is all very cerebral things. It's not something that you're just teaching, like not just learning a technique in class. It's now linking the paths between, which seeing it at that age is like insane. I think it's amazing. And like we just got the other day, young Oli Silvestro from High Rollers. He just double golded at the Brasileiros. So like he's now done what's known as the Grand Slam in the gi, Worlds, Euros, Pans Euros, and then bloody Brasileiros. Like and the highlight they put of Oli in the final is him flying triangling this kid, man. Like just the gringo in Brazil comes out and flying triangles this dude to win the match. Like he's another kid who's just like he's just on the up. He's just pushing. He's on the up. So like like there's so many good kids, like young kids who are pushing into that zone as they become teenagers that you're gonna start seeing more of, and then we have this group of like, you know, late teens, early 20-year-old kids who are like their faces are showing, like Max and Antcliffe, you know, he's another one. Ben Moses, we already spoke about Ben. Oli Silvestro, the Bernardo boys, like, you know, there's so many guys, so many good kids. There's probably so many more that I haven't even mentioned, but like, there is so many. And then I think like Australia is in good, like as far as jiu-jitsu in Australia, I think it is in good hands. I don't think it's diminishing. All I see is improving. And even in our adults, we're seeing our adults doing really well. You know, like shit, like Levi, even though Levi's been like in the US and whatnot, he's been in Australia now back in Australia for a little while. You know, we just saw him have a really good run at Polaris. You know, he beat Joseph Chen. So like, you know, just like things like this. Of course, Nick Maglisic, you know, winning worlds as a brown belt. You know, he's now a black belt under Galval. So like, and he's another threat. He's another Aussie name who's just putting Australia on the map. Yeah. Again, I'm sure there's more other people that I could mention, but like, yeah, I just feel like as far as Australia is concerned, we are doing the right things, and we're definitely on the uptick. We're not falling off. Yeah. And the one thing that I would like, and that people like Ari Tabak are creating, like with the Sikumete, what they are creating is these rooms. We need to see more rooms like that in Australia to keep our high level guys in Australia. Yeah, like because a lot of like in the past, people go to the US or somewhere else overseas to do a lot of their camps, or at worst end up living there. So I think we're definitely on the right track. You know, like Lockie Giles down in Melbourne, like obviously he's been spearheading that for quite a while with Absolute down there. But more and more of these kind of training rooms, these gyms are showing up. GE, Luke out at SWMA, you know, gi or no gi. Again, the guys with the Sikumete guys, Ali El Kiir with the SWA crew, and Lucas Kennard. Sorry, these rooms are showing up more and more and more, and these are the more and more kind of rooms that we need in Australia. And again, the results are showing. Yeah,
it's crazy. You know, I feel like the scene on its own has also exploded, which is really, really cool to see. You know, I just think you know, even the last Subversion, the matches were fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. And when you see like the production value so high and the events garnering so many eyeballs, it's a cool thing to see because it sort of attracts more people to the sport. And I think, you know, one of the things that Jiu-Jitsu has done really, really well in comparison to perhaps some of the more traditional styles of martial arts is that Jiu-Jitsu was always quite commercial. When I say quite commercial in the sense of, you know, it's always been fairly expensive to train. Yeah. And I think you sort of need that because, like, if people can't make a living from it, why would they? It's very difficult to justify continuing to do it. Yeah. Not everybody's like a sadist like me that just you know trains for the love of training. And it's like my lifestyle, right? A lot of people need to have a pathway of how that then interacts with the rest of their life. You know, and allows them to pay bills and do those sorts of things. Yeah. And you know, like I know with a lot of traditional martial arts, like the mentality is hobbyist and therefore the outcomes are hobbyist. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, whether it's like a school that runs out of community hall, you know, and all we want to do is just cover the community hall way, like pay, and then maybe, you know, be able to give a little bit to the instructor and that's about it. Yeah. Right. But that's then all it ever is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I guess, you know, MMA gyms have definitely come a long way in terms of that as well, like, you know, getting it more commercial. Yeah. You know, and I think it's a beautiful thing to see you know, if we want to actually grow some of these things in Australia and grow the sport, like
Yeah.
that sort of openness, you know, as I think most Aussies could attest to, you know, when you get like a guy like Volkanovski, we don't care which gym he comes out of, the fact that he's in Australia,
Aussie.
like everybody supports him.
Same with Whitaker, you know what I mean? Like,
right, all the guys like Whitaker, Josh, you know, Jamie. There's so many of those guys, like even Stephen Urcheg.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, he's got
right?
that. Yeah.
Della
Lana as well.
Like when we see Australians on the big stage, you know, you want to get behind them,
100%,
no matter what, right?
But like, and that like coming back to you're talking about like the subversion, like the production of subversion and whatnot. There, like the last card, man. Like we had like Fionn Davies. Like this woman is possibly the best female at the moment. Okay. And as well, I know I mentioned a lot of guys when we were talking about the upcoming of jiu-jitsu athletes, but we do have a lot of very good women as well. Yeah. Like Adele's destroying it right now. Yep. So good to see. People like Nikki Lloyd-Griffiths. Yep. Will obviously Hope to back. Congratulations to Hari and Hope. They got married. So that's another beautiful thing. But the people like them, you know, Olivia Akmar as well, like weapon. You don't really see, we don't get to see much of Olivia because I think she's still looking at MMA. I'm not too sure.
No, she's
stopped. She's just
focusing
now?
purely on jiu-jitsu now. Shout out to Olivia. So
yeah.
One of my previous teammates. So.
Yeah. So like again, she's another girl who's, you know, making tracks quickly too. On all aspects, man. Like jiu-jitsu in Australia, grappling as a whole, whether it's gi, no gi, it's all on the trajectory up. It's all going up, both male and female. And yeah, I'm fucking love it. I love it. I could like this. I don't know. I kind of to come back when I said before, you know, like I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that think I'm an asshole. I come across as arrogant because I'm not the kind of person to like initiate a conversation with someone that I don't know. But for those people who do talk to me, you know, he's actually a really, really nice guy. And in a sense, like I love this sport. Like this sport means everything to me. It's kind of like if I don't do my everyday job and be an everyday person, that one skill that I also excel at, well then, like, this is it. This is what I have. Like, I'm 36, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still young in most people's eyes, but like, as far as like I'm concerned, like, this is my path. This is where I gotta be. And I've always said, like at the end of the day, what is the biggest thing that I would like to be remembered for in jiu-jitsu? You know, like if someone was to ever remember me, if I was doing anything memorable, it's like I've missed the boat on winning worlds. I missed all that stuff. But for me, I would like to be amongst those people who are helping elevate jiu-jitsu in Australia. And that's what I'm trying to do here. It's I feel like this area that we live in here, like in the Sutherland Shire, there are a couple of jiu-jitsu gyms, but a lot of them are like, I say this without being disrespectful. I feel like a lot of them are kind of stuck in the past, both technically and mentally, like and the mentality behind the spaces. A lot of, as we all know, like cross training is a very big thing. Cross training was something that I was doing as a purple belt. With Ari Tabak and Levi Jones Leary, I was going to garage in Bondi, a 1 hour train ride. I was catching that just to get in cross training because I was still in that mindset of wanting to excel in competition, even though it was only going to be here in Australia, I still wanted to excel. Yeah. And if it wasn't for me doing that, I don't believe I would have excelled. Like the gym that I came from, where I got my belt from, once upon a time was a very hard-nosed competitive gym. But once that relationship between Trek and Alex Prater split, the jiu-jitsu side of it didn't really carry that anymore. Even though myself and Bernardo and one or two other guys did still compete quite regularly, it never really built from that. A lot of people that were joining it were just everyday hobbyists, which is perfectly fine. Guys did like to train hard and whatever, like I said before, like these guys as a competitor, these are the people that you need as well. Like you need these kind of people who you are technically better than, but they still bring an intensity that forces you to be calculated and technical. Like that having, I fucking just went so sideways, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Like having these more open rooms, you know, like the ability to cross train, and have more acceptance of cross training is, I think, for as far as Australia is concerned, and I think that's very important.
It's the old saying, you know, the rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I just recently had a bit of a negative confrontation, you know, through messaging. I don't need to talk about who, but and it was kind of along the lines of this, like this idea, you know, like where what I want to do is I'm a part of this new idea, you know what I mean, like of having an open room. You know, a lot of gyms say, you know, like the door's always open, you know, everyone's welcome, blah blah blah. But if you try to walk back out that door, it's like you're exiled. Okay, like that shouldn't happen. Like you said,
it's funny because I think, you know, we always go back to these sort of like tribalist, you know, sort of emotions or mentalities, you know, especially in competition, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's, you know, part of the reason why I've removed myself from competition, because, you know, a lot of the things that I do, I've got to be agnostic.
Yeah.
And like, you know, if you're competing, it's very difficult to be agnostic because, you know, you're always going to have preferences for the people that you know, you love, that you might have trained with. And I think, you know, for the things that I do, like integrity is a big piece for me.
Yeah.
You know, and so like if I'm expecting people to be able to open up, you know, before they compete or fight and tell me things that I can say in commentary and know that, you know, I'm going to hold that with integrity, and not go and share it because I know the other person, like, you know, that's what I've got to do. Yeah. Right. And I think, it's very difficult, you know, to exit that sort of tribal mentality because, like people want to win. Yeah. You know, people want to be the best, you know, depending on how they define it, whether it's they want to have the best gym or the best competitors or the best whatever, X, Y, and Z. Yep. So, it's difficult, you know, and likewise, you know, even from that tribalistic perspective, the same thing when we go for Australian athletes. We want Aussies to be the best. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like we apply that tribalism on basically big scales and small scales. And even like, you know, coming into the gym room, like it's applied in that setting as well. Yeah. But ultimately, you know, the competition then I think breeds better outcomes anyway, all in all, because if you don't have people pushing you, right? Like, and you know, a great example would be like, say, city kickboxing over in New Zealand, right? Yeah. A lot of the talent, you know, is attracted to that room when they start to move up the rankings. Mm-hmm. The problem is then for their local scene is that, you know, they don't want to have teammates fighting teammates. Yeah. So then, you know, the promoters are then have to try and look outside the square to try and find, you know, athletes to come and compete against the local guys. Yeah. So you don't want to have one place to be like the reservoir of all the talent. Yeah. Because then that also becomes difficult because you want to have the, you know, the talent sprinkled around so that, you know, you can actually then have them meet in competition. Yeah, definitely. And like, it's like, going back to talking about cross training, it's like someone like, let's say someone comes to my gym to cross train, right? It's not like it's a psyop to try to convince that person to eventually become a full member of yours. If they choose to do that at some point, that's their choice. Like it's never like this is just like a gateway to me then claiming this person as my member. At the same time, it's like that person is coming here for a reason, whether that's because there's a whole different skill set being shown here that they're not learning somewhere else, or maybe it's there's more skilled individuals in this room and they get better rounds. Like there's a reason why this person is choosing to cross train, right? And if, as far as skills and technique wise is concerned, if this person is learning something, right, they're getting better, and now they're returning back to their gym where they train majority of their training sessions at, and they're passing that on. Yeah, filters. Exactly right. It's like, and again, back to the whole thing of, you know, a high tide raises all ships.
if we constantly are building all the gyms around us and all the members from those gyms are getting better, and the guys from those gyms who do compete go out and compete against these other individuals who they know. When you compete in jiu-jitsu, right, you compete against the same people regularly. Like if you're someone who follows the circuit, even if it's just in Australia, you're doing a comp like every like 5 weeks, maybe 6, you know what I mean? Like every couple of months there's an important event, right?
Yep.
And you're in the same weight bracket until you change your belt, unless you're younger, and then you become, as you get older, you obviously get heavier or whatever. Yep. But like for the most part, you are fighting the same fucking people, right? And if it's someone who's really good, who always wins the division, well, it's like if you make it to the finals, you're fighting this person, so you've seen them so many times, or you've fought them so many times, you understand it, right? And if you're not trying to meet that person or aim to be above that person, like what are they doing that's better than me? Like if you're not figuring out that aspect and then putting yourself in an environment where you can get better than them, you're not going to get better than them. I fought Ari and I fought Levi as a purple belt, right? They both beat me. But I held my ground really well against them. Like these two used to run through everybody, and I managed to do a lot better against them than what I expected. And so I was like, okay, so I'm not better than them, but I'm not terribly worse than them. So how can I take that step that they have what's that step that they are taking further than me? How do I get to that? Just go fucking train with them. Yeah. I can't go to the US. I can't go and do the training camps at Unity like they were doing. I can't do that. I can't afford to do that. And like again, I have the life commitments to my family. Yeah. So what's the next best thing? I'll just go fucking train with these guys. Yeah. Smart. Okay. I was like, okay, like, and fuck, they're in Bondi. That's like 50 minutes away from me on the train. Okay, when can I get there? This day, this one day a week is the one day I can get okay, boom, I'm going there. Yeah. And that's what I did. Yeah. I did the same with Warwick Oliveira, who's now at Legacy, but he used to be at my BJJ in Camperdown. Me and Warwick have never fought each other, but Warwick was always a bit lighter than me, but he was always someone who was winning the division. And again, someone who, if you're in the competition scene regularly, you get to know everyone and you get to know all the really good guys. And if you're someone who is, I guess, in that kind of top 5 kind of thing, you kind of mingle with all that same sort of people. And so I was like, Warwick's really fucking good. He does really good in this position, or he does good at this stuff here. And it's like, I have a free day there. I'll go train with him too. So I was training with Warwick at my BJJ, and I was going to Bondi to train with Levi and Ari whenever Levi was in the country. You know what I mean? And I fully believe, like, if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't have got that next step up. Yeah. I probably would have just been mediocre. Yeah. I'm mediocre now. Like, I'm not exceptional at this sport. But, like, if I didn't do that stuff, like, I wouldn't have been better than the people that I fought. Yeah. So I wouldn't have won those things. I don't feel like I would have been successful if I didn't cross-train. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, but I think that investment is... you know, they always say, like, the best investment you can make is an investment in your own knowledge and education, right? Yeah. And that applies to all disciplines. You know, whether it's, you know, you want to get better in the workplace, well, it's about reading, you know, books that are relevant to, you know, work and, you know, whatever culture that you're instilling yourself in. Same thing. You know, if you want to get better at things, you have to have that personal desire to invest in yourself. Yeah. And I think, you know, selfishly, you know, when it comes to coaching, that they become your competitive advantages. You know, that you've trained with a whole bunch of different people, and you've got such you can have like a wide sort of skill set. You know, as you said, you want to be the handyman. Yeah. Right. The handyman may not, you know, necessarily go as deep on particular elements, but you have a good enough understanding of all the different facets of the game to go, okay, what's the right tool for the job? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like it's just I guess like. If you want to put into MMA perspective, it's like what was GSP's approach? He wanted to be a complete martial artist. So like he wanted to, like he was a dude who what was he? He's a Kyokushin black belt, like karate, right? Yep. And when he retired, he was known as one of the best wrestlers in the welterweight division. Yeah. And it's like he's a guy who comes from a karate never wrestled, never did any of that stuff, and was like, okay, MMA needs wrestling, so start wrestling with the Canadian Olympic team.
Yep.
And then now you become one of the most devastating forces there is. Like, people want to stand with him, and he decided to put you on your ass, you're getting put on your ass. If he wanted to keep you on your ass, you will stay on your ass, and then you beat the shit out of you from there.
And like one of the beautiful things was how he tied in those different martial arts.
Yeah, yes.
Because it's like the blitz of
karate
that karate
blitz,
style,
yes.
right? And that the timing, to combine it with the timing for his wrestling shots, that just made him, his wrestling versus Khabib's wrestling are two very different styles and approaches to wrestling for MMA, right? Like his GSP was so good in open space.
Yeah. That long distance shot.
The long distance shot, the timing.
Timing people's jab and just shooting on someone's jab and stuff like that.
Whereas Khabib was like, get him to the cage.
Yeah.
Now let's wrestle.
More of a dogfight, what I mean? Real scrappy. But then again, when you go back and look at like even if you look at just like the freestyle wrestling scene, right? Look at a lot of the American guys and stuff like that, and a lot of them are all super, like, don't get me wrong, everyone that wrestles there are all hyper technical dudes, okay? But the styles between the Eastern European guys versus like the North American guys, personally from what I watch and see, it's like the North American guys really good in their setups, their hand fights, super technical, you know what I mean? Very crafty. But you watch like the Eastern European guys, and they're catching guys in the chaos. That's where they thrive. And again, that reflects ultimately back again, if you want to draw it back to Khabib and GSP, it's like GSP was wrestling with the Canadian guys, same sort of region sort of thing, and then you watch Khabib, and it was like that kind of make it a fight, getting people's grills and put them down. And it's like a lot of those Eastern European grapplers, whether it's wrestling or just like Noki grappling, they're always known of being like, even in the MMA, like the Dagestanis and stuff like that, they're just known of being like super, super tough, and they'll
relentless.
They'll make it a war, what I think. It's like if you, it's like, it's just go to see who dies sort of thing, man, last man standing sort of stuff, Yeah.
All right. Well, we're over 2 hours already, so we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, man, for sure.
If people want to find you, how do they find you?
You can find me on Wilco Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram, or at Rain Grappling Club on Instagram as well.
Yeah. So for people that look. We were talking about this before the podcast, but if you look up Rain on Google, it's actually at PCYC Sutherland.
Yeah, there's that bloody issue. I'm still going through this issue with Google, trying to sort out the verification process. They won't allow me to change the address. So I got Mr. John Lewis from DigiGround sorting that out. So shout out to him. Hopefully he gets that sorted for me.
Yeah, too easy. So so if you want to reach out and get over to Rain Grappling Club, come check them out. And thanks everyone.
Thank you very much. Peace.